Oh, let me check my mic. How's everybody doing this morning? All right. So if you can see me, I think. Hold on. I'm trying something new here with chatting. All right. Okay. Well, for me, it's morning. So good morning to everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening. Thanks again for joining me today. And like I said, I want to try to connect with my viewers at least once a week, maybe twice a week when I can. I didn't get a chance to do my live stream on Thursday this week, but uh, I'm here for Sunday. If you have any questions about anything Olympus related, the cameras, lenses, even Olympus workspace, or really anything photography related, I'll do my best to answer your questions. And let's see, it looks like, yeah, everything's working. So, um, gosh, a couple of things this week has happened. I traded in my Fujifilm X100F camera because I had this bug to try to use Fujifilm, the film simulations and things, and I bought this X100F, and yeah, that turned into a disaster. I didn't like using the optical little viewfinder. I was always using the electronic viewfinder, so that part of the camera was kind of wasted on me. And and then the just the workflow in terms of where the buttons and dials and everything are just didn't work for me either. And then I had some other issues that I just couldn't, I just didn't enjoy the camera anywhere near as much as I thought I might because it was such a popular camera. Um, and has a really hardcore following, right? So I I decided to just trade it in for an XT30 because that had the tilt screen and the latest processor and all of that good stuff. And that's turning into a much better camera for me than the X100F was. Um, so here it is here. And one of my uh, objectives is really to try to emulate some of the film simulations in workspace, in post processing, or even maybe possibly in camera. And what I'm finding is it's much harder than I thought. Because I'll be able to get one picture to match almost exactly to one of the film simulations in Fuji into our Olympus cameras, and then I'll go to another picture and it just totally destroys it. So still a long way to go on that, but I am getting closer. But I think, for example, like the Velvia film simulation, I've pretty much nailed it. You can do that in camera or in workspace. So once I do a few more test images and take out some more, go out on some more photo walks with it in different lighting conditions, I want to make sure that, it works more or less. Now I put a link in the community tab to one of the film simulations I was trying out. I think it was the Velvia. And it works pretty well on a lot of images, particularly like architectural or static things, but where there's a lot of green landscapes, wow, it really destroys those. So you might have to dial the green back a little bit on that. But it's a batch file that you can load into Workspace. It's similar to like, presets in Lightroom where it changes all the settings and applies it to the image. So there's that. So I'm still working on that. I think the autofocus and everything on the camera is pretty good. I'm still having trouble nailing autofocus with the X-T30. I'm just not used to using it, I guess. Because a lot of shots that I have no problem getting in focus, the subject that I want, I'm having trouble doing it on the X-T30. And again, it's not the camera's fault. It's just, I'm just so used to using Olympus. And, yeah, hi John, sorry. I'm gonna try and do every day, every week at this time at the very least. So I didn't announce the live streams this week mainly because I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to get to them. Uh, so it was very spontaneous. Someone I almost wasn't gonna do one today because the weather is this. It's almost winter and the weather's pretty nice today. So I was gonna go out on a photo walk, but uh, Jan had asked, if I was going to do a live stream, and I said, okay. So I guess people are waiting for me to come out. I guess I should try to be a little more reliable in that sense. But I'd like to do live streams more often. But I don't want my channel to just be all live streams, right? Because I haven't really posted a video in about, gosh, 10 or 12 days now. And it's not that I haven't tried. I've been photo walking and vlogging and stuff between my Fuji and my EM10, and the video has just been oh, hey Arthur, how are you? The vlogs have been terrible. I haven't been taking good pictures, and I'll forget to turn the stabilization on, so all the videos just crazy. So I really wanted to try to post a couple of videos, and then I have a few tutorials in mind. And I don't know what it is, but it's like Peter Forsgard and Robin Wong. They're pretty regular with their video uploads, right, and tutorials and things. And they'll post a video tutorial, and I was like, man, I was just gonna do that video. I don't want to overlap that too much. I guess I could, but. Like the Peter just did one on depth of field, which wasn't bad. I would, and obviously, I have a very different style, and I would do it very differently. But I am planning on some tutorials on depth of field and equivalence. Because when we talk about our lenses, right, we always, like the 14 to 42 kit lens, and then there's always like the subtext, well, really that's a 28 to 85 or whatever. It's always sunny. Hi, Depot. Oh, you're in Virginia, Northern Virginia by any chance? Hi, good morning, Solar Body. So I wanted to do one on equivalence and sensor size because there was a video by F-Stoppers about sensor size doesn't matter when it comes to depth of field. It's that's it's a little misleading. And then when you watch the video, he really goes into a lot of detail that, it's just over my head. I'm like, why are we talking about all of this stuff? Let's just take a few pictures and show you. And which he does. I think it's Lee and some other dude. Oh, hi, Arif. How are you? What do you think about Olympus will shut down? I haven't heard that rumor recently. I heard it earlier this year. I heard a rumor like that, but nothing recent. If there's something recent, I would be very sad because they make fantastic cameras. Oh, thank you, Arthur. Oh, okay, Larry. I'll talk about the X-T30 in a few minutes. I'm just gathering my thoughts on it because, like I said, I just got up about an hour ago, and then I had to, get dressed and everything. But anyway, now I can't remember what I was talking about. But I do have some tutorials, and I'm going to update a lot of the content on my channel with newer cameras. Somebody from Olympus, actually, a couple of people got in touch with me. One from the UK and then one here locally in the US. About, just sending me cameras to, review or add content to my channel. So I'm going to try and get actually an EM10 Mark III. And, sorry, I was reading the comments. Oh, you were, oh, okay, Deepa. Okay. Yeah, I know who you are now. Yeah, it's nice seeing you guys. That's cool. Oh, your kid's a Fuji fan, huh? That's cool. Oh, thanks, Jack. Olympus camera's not shutting down. Yeah, I don't think so because I haven't heard anything recently, and Olympus, like I said, I was in touch with the Olympus corporate headquarters here in the States, which is only about 180 miles from me. So he's invited me to come down and visit the facility. It's not an R&D facility specifically for the camera division. It's more of their corporate division, so they do everything there that Olympus does. But they do have a couple of little showrooms with all their cameras and everything out there. And another neat thing over there is they have a steel mill or something that's open for tourists. You know, it's shut down a long time ago. So I think I'll plan, maybe 4 or 5 days up there to visit the Olympus corporate office, and then also go to the steel mill, because Pennsylvania is such a beautiful state. So many things to get pictures of out there. And so I'm gonna go up there and do that. It's a little too cold now. God, I hate the cold. So I may not go up north anytime soon. Maybe in April. But I think I'll go further south. Like Smoky Mountains would be really nice right now. It's still cool, but not so cold. Uh, yeah, Arthur, that's all hearsay. I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything or remember anything directly. Arthur's asking that the camera division is the R&D division, really for Olympus and all their devices, and I think that's there could be some truth to that. It makes sense if you're going to spend money researching and developing optical equipment and sensors and things like that. It's automatically there's going to be some synergy with your other divisions like medical imaging and things like that. So I'm sure the medical imaging research and development, the camera research and development, the consumer side, there's a lot of interaction there or synergy. So you could look at it both ways, right? Um, but yeah, I okay, so have I done, John is asking, have I done batch processing or files from the camera via USB cable or in Workspace? No, I've not done that. I've not done that. I haven't had a need because my computer's pretty powerful. Uh, so I can try it, but I don't know if I could give you good feedback on it because my computer's already pretty powerful and just eats through Workspace no problem. It's still a tiny bit slow, but if I attach the camera, I'm not going to be able to say, wow, this is so much better, right? So it wouldn't be, I might have, I'll try and hook up maybe my old Sony laptop over there and because that thing is dead slow. And then I think I can give a little better feedback on that because if I hook it up to this, I'm going to be like, well, why bother? It's no different. But if I hook it up to my Sony, which is like a 6-year-old laptop and it's much faster, then I could say if you have a slow laptop, definitely do that. But I can't say that because I haven't tried it. Um, if I were upgrading from the MK2, would it be M5? I would get the M5 Mark III. Um, Question is, if you have an EM10 Mark II, what would you upgrade to? The M5 Mark III or the M1 Mark II? And hi, Andres. Nikos is asking, and I would say it depends on what kind of shooter you are, and what lenses you plan on using with it. If you plan on using bigger, heavier lenses all the time, like all the pro lenses, get the Mark One, EM1 Mark II, because it has the grip built in primarily, and that's going to give you much better handling. If you primarily use small primes and kit lenses and only occasionally use some of the heavier lenses, get the M5 Mark III. And then if you start using heavier lenses, you can always add the grip later. But if you're primarily one small and compact like the EM10 Mark II already is, I would just stick with the M5 Mark III. But functionally, I don't think there's any difference in terms of usability and image quality and everything else. Solar. So those who've never used full frame, the 43 and APS comparison to full frame is meaningless. Before full frame became benchmark, medium and large formats were standard and full frame. Yeah, that's true. Years ago, people were all shooting, when we were shooting film, they were shooting 4x5, which is, like this big, right? And then they were shooting 120 film, which is, closer to this. And then when 35 millimeter came out, it's like this, right? And that's when they were getting a lot of flack. But it really opened up, photography to a lot of people, because not everybody wanted to carry around a big box camera with 4x5 film. And so 35 millimeter opened it up, and then it, from there, is the rest is history. So, but yeah, sensor size has never been, well, let me rephrase that. I don't consider sensor size anymore when I think about another camera. It's not important to me, because I understand how to use the camera that I get, whatever the sensor size is, and get the most out of it. And even my little TG5, honestly, yeah, hi Marco, how are you? Good to see you too. Good morning, Pete. Pete has a question. But yeah, even this TG5, I mean, it's not the sharpest lens ever, right? But I love this little camera. So I'm going to segue from this into my Fujifilm X-T30 thoughts. But let me see, there's a couple of questions here. When trying to edit raw files in Workspace, the program is telling me to attach a camera. Okay, yeah, you have to, I don't know why they do that, but yeah, you have to attach a camera just one time usually. And then once they verified that you're an Olympus camera owner or user, then they'll let you use the software. So there's probably some licensing thing, but I've had to do that on the initial upload, I believe, particularly with videos. I get that more with videos. I don't recall that happening when I was just trying to edit raw photos, but they may have updated it so that you have to do that now. So there's no workaround that I know of. And let's see, the other question was, okay. I think I answered everyone's immediate questions there. So, but like I was saying, I don't consider sensor size at all anymore when I buy a camera, because it really, you can get good images out of just about any camera, even this little tiny TG5. I've done a few vlogs with this, and I'm very happy with the images, even from this. And that's why, in the community post, I put a poll up. What camera do you think I should replace my X100F with? Because I was looking at the X-T30, I was looking at the Canon G7X, and I was looking at the Sony RX7. I was looking at a $1,200 budget or less, much less if possible. And as you can tell, I was looking at 1-inch sensors, I was looking at APS-C sensors, and then in the background, what I didn't post was a lot of cameras that I was considering. And when it came down to it, hi Samir, how are you? I went to the store and I was thinking, if this was the first time ever I was thinking about buying a camera, what camera would I get, knowing everything I know now, if this were the first time? And honestly, the EM5 Mark II for $999 with the 14-150 was the best bang for the buck among all the cameras there, if you don't care about 4K video. If all you cared about was photography, the EM5 Mark II, I just could not find any other camera that could beat it at that price. And what separates the EM5, now the Mark III is out, is mainly the image stabilization and the weather sealing, right? I don't care about weather sealing, but if I get it, it's just a bonus for me. But when you try to look at pricing of any other camera at that price range, they're not going to have weather sealing, or they're not going to have image stabilization, or fully articulating screen. There's going to be something missing. And I didn't look at the Sonys that closely. Someone mentioned an A6400. I don't know what that has, but I don't think that one's weather sealed. But I've ruled out Sony a long time ago, because I had a Sony NEX6, which is in a bag somewhere. I still have it. And I used that for about a year, and then I just didn't like it. And I switched to Nikon, from there. So I had the X100F for a long time. I'm sorry, for a couple of weeks. And I said, this is not working for me. So I said, I'm going to get $800 for it on trade-in. What can I get instead? And ultimately, I think about 40 some percent, 45% or so, recommended I get the X-T30. Almost nobody said get the Canon G7X Mark III. And then not many people suggested the Sony RX7, and then also about almost as many people said, don't get anything, or suggested something else like Panasonic G85, G90, etc. But even the Panasonic G90 or 95 out, that's kind of a bulky camera next to the EM1 Mark II even. So I just didn't want another big bulky camera. I wanted something small. That's why I was considering even a 1-inch sensor camera like the G7X3. Yeah, so the G90, I'm sorry. I don't know how quickly these chats come up. Oh, hi, Jennifer. Oh, I'm sorry you're in the hospital. Hopefully you're, it's not you. Maybe you're just visiting someone, but either way, I'm sorry you're there. Uh, yeah, 4K video requires, well, either an expensive PC or a lot of patience, right? Because there's workarounds to do 4K video on almost any PC, but it requires a ton of patience. Sony menus. Okay, so let me talk about the Fuji, because Sony menus are terrible. Let me tell you, when I got this Fuji, not this one, but the X100F, the menus are virtually the same. Oh, and I had an extra red thing on here to put on here. I thought that was kind of a nice little bling or touch. Oh, you work at the hospital? Okay, good. Oh, I couldn't work at a hospital. It just breaks my heart every day. But anyway, I could not even format the memory card on this camera. I couldn't figure it out. Where is it in the menu? And then I couldn't do a couple other things that just come so naturally to me now. So I feel like no matter what camera you switch to, if you're used to one thing, it's very hard to find it on another camera sometimes. I was laughing at myself. I said, why can't I even format a memory card, But it's in the user menu. And I've gotten just about, I'd say 90% of the menu down now, finally in the X-T30, that I can get the camera to do what I want it to do, at least through the menus. I'm still having trouble with it focusing. I took a lot of pictures and half of them are out of focus. And I thought I locked focus, and I know it's not the camera's fault. It's something that I'm doing wrong. Like, I'm not seeing where the focus point is, or my nose is, I had to turn the touch screen off because my nose kept moving the stupid pointer around. So I still got a long way to go with this X-T30, but the images themselves with this, and I got the 18-55 kit lens, are very good. I wouldn't say they were superior to anything. They're just fine. And the Fujifilm color simulations are really a lot of fun, and I'm having fun trying to get those to work. But handling wise, my God, this thing is heavy with this lens. The body itself is about the same as the EM10, but this lens, it weighs almost as much as the body, and it's yeah, I mean, the lens seems okay. It's well built and everything, but I don't like handling it too much, so I'm gonna have to get a grip for this or something, because now this is kind of heavy. And that's the thing. This X-T30 was $1,200, roughly one or $200 or $300 more than the EM5 Mark III with its kit lens, and it's not weather sealed, and doesn't have a fully articulating screen, and doesn't have all of the features that I love about Olympus. So the EM5 Mark II is a much better deal than, and I almost bought it, but I said I just bought a Mark V, EM5 Mark III, so why would I buy the Mark II, even though it's a great deal? Okay. I'm in Costa, Ohio. I know you like prime lenses, but I was wondering how good is the 12 to 200? Yes, like I said, I'm in touch with the person at Olympus now. I told him, I said I want the EM10 Mark III with the 12 to 200 lens, because those are two things I'd probably never buy for myself personally. Because yeah, I like prime lenses generally speaking, and the EM10 Mark III, I just don't have a need for it at all, because I have a Mark II and I have the Mark V, 3 coming, etc. I have a lot of cameras, so the EM10 Mark III doesn't fit anywhere in my lineup. But that's why I asked for those two particular items, because those are two things I wouldn't buy for myself. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but wait a couple of weeks. I should get those in. An EM10, and that'll give me a chance to update some of my content with the new menu systems, and then talk about the differences between the Mark II and the Mark III, because the Mark III is not as granular in the settings and things, and that may or may not be a big deal. It's a big deal for me for the professional work I do, but for, I'd say, 99% of the people, it shouldn't matter. I think the problem with buying M5 II or even a Pen F today is that the AF is poor by today's standards. I think for video, yeah, there is a big difference, and for continuous autofocus and tracking, there's going to be a big difference between the TruePic 7 series type cameras from Olympus versus the TruePic 8s that are out now. Like the EM1 Mark II, EM5 Mark III, and anything else that comes out. Yeah, I think for single point autofocus, which is what most of us use, it's a fine camera. Now, I can't say that I find the Fuji autofocus poor, because when I was vlogging with it the other day, the focusing was amazing. I didn't have to do anything. It just spot on from my face to something else and back, and but when I was just hand holding and taking shots, like I said, I think it's user error. I just don't know where the focus point is or what it's focusing on. And it's an APS-C sensor, right? So I'm getting a little shallower depth of field as well at the same apertures. So I'm seeing areas that are out of focus that are probably fine, but I wanted them to be in focus, right? Like I do with my Olympus camera, because it has a much wider depth of field than the APS-C camera. So I just need to get used to shooting with it a little bit in terms of the aperture and the depth of field and everything that I'm getting, because when I take a picture with my Olympus, I know exactly, I have a feel for the depth of field, right? And I think that's part of the problem, that, and I'm not picking the focus point right. I had to turn the touch screen off for now because, like I said, my nose kept bumping the focus point a lot, so that might have been part of it. But again, but I think the low light focusing, my EM1 Mark II is better. I'll have to actually test that, but it's just a feeling. But like I said, I don't think it's poor. It's just more user error and getting used to the shallower depth of field with that lens. I think of all of us Olympus users are a bit spoiled in general, and that probably says a lot for both the users. Yeah, the Olympus systems are amazing. I'm so happy. I'm still using the Pen EPM2, planning the EM5 Mark III and the 12 to 2, and already have the 17. Yeah, I think yeah, you're gonna love that EM5 Mark III. I can't wait. It's still 2 weeks away, but man, when that thing comes in, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do I get rid of my EM1 Mark II? Because I rarely use heavy lenses, but I probably won't. I'll probably get like $500 for it. Let's see. The M10AF tracking doesn't work well for me shooting even slow moving duck. Yeah. Yeah, John, it's the continuous autofocus is not great. Um, the only tip I can give you with continuous autofocus is don't use the tracking feature, and also slow the continuous low speed. You have to be in continuous low. You can't shoot continuous autofocus and continuous high. So be in continuous low, and then I think the maximum frame rate is 8 or 8.5 frames per second. Knock that down to about 4 frames per second. You know, half whatever the maximum is, and that'll give time for the camera and the lens to work together to acquire focus properly. And I get a much better keeper rate that way. Uh, if you're not doing that already, try that. Try shooting photos of 2 5-year-olds at the park playing. Yeah, like I said, the same advice on that is try knocking it down to 4 frames per second, like half, in continuous low. Don't use continuous high, and don't use the tracking feature. Just use continuous autofocus, and pick like the 5-point box. And if you're really good, you can do single point continuous autofocus. Have either of you tried the Zon? No, I haven't tried that 25 millimeter. I hear it's very soft, wide open though at 0.9, and I don't have a need for super shallow depth of field. And I'm not a big fan of manual focus anymore. If I'm going to buy a new lens, brand new lens. If I'm going to buy a brand new lens, it's going to be autofocus. If I want to buy a vintage lens, then yeah, you have to go manual focus, and I don't mind it then, but I'm not going to buy brand new. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I can. So Bytor saying he moved from Olympus to Fujifilm, and he's very happy. And yeah, I can see the attraction though. I mean, it's a nice camera. It just has a few things that I'm used to with Olympus. Now, the one major deal breaker for me with like completely switching over to Fuji, why I would probably never switch, is well, it's really two things. One is, obviously there's no in-body image stabilization. That's kind of a deal breaker for me. The number two thing is actually something a little bit more, a little smaller thing, and that's the leveling, right? I don't know about other Fuji films. I only have the X-T30 and X100F to talk to, that I've experienced with, but you only can level the horizon. You can't level the pitch. So I can level. You can see it maybe, right? You see the little leveling line here? I can level like this, but if I need to level this way, up and down, there's no way to do it that I know of. And that's a big problem for me because I like to do a lot of, professionally I do architectural, but when I'm just out on my photo walks, having the camera completely parallel in all directions to your subject just is a very big deal to me. Making sure that that's as straight and as flat as possible with the subject. Otherwise, it just looks weird to me. Those are the two main things. Other than that, it's a fine camera, but they're a little pricey for like the X-T30. My God, that even at $12.99 right now, it's $200 off. And then you throw on this lens, the kit lens, you're at $1,700 or $1,800. Oh, my God, like I said, I'd rather have an EM5 Mark III that has everything the X-T3 does and more. Let's see. Yeah, Chris, try that. Yeah, try that. Okay, so for the iPhone 11. Yeah, I don't have an iPhone 11. My phone, I just don't like the handling on a phone. I guess you could get used to it like anything, but if I want to change any of the settings, exposure comp and ISO or uh, focus points, it's very, very awkward on a phone. It's not like having all the physical controls and buttons to quickly switch things. And then anyway, so yeah, phone doesn't work for me for even general photography. Okay, so let's see. Oh, yeah, I would say if you have an EM1 Mark II, you don't need to buy an EM5 Mark III. I would just wait for the EM1 Mark III KGF, honestly. Okay, so Solar says when I do JPEGs and compare them, all the images are sharp, or probably it's the IBIS. Yeah, definitely. I wish the Pen FEM5 Mark II 3 had tilt screen. Yeah, a lot of people, they'd rather have the screen like this. And I have to agree, for general photography, I prefer a tilting screen rather than fully articulating. But it's not a deal breaker for me, and because I am a hybrid shooter, I prefer fully articulating on a camera. If I had to pick one, I would pick fully articulating. But for pure photography, tilting is my preference. But yeah, the images are sharper. Definitely the IBIS, because I have to set, some of the settings I do is I set things to 1/30th of a second as the minimum shutter speed, because when I start to get below that and I don't have IBIS or some optical image stabilization like in the lens on the Fuji, my pictures are blurry. I just cannot hold a camera steady. And that was another big problem for me on the X100F. Is when I do my night photography, the images were tack sharp with the EM10 Mark II, but then at 1/8 of a second, but at the same shutter speed, 1/8 of a second on the Fuji, there's a little bit of motion blur. I tried to hold it steady, but there was a little bit of motion blur, so I couldn't shoot with that camera anymore. So I made sure when I got the Fuji, I wanted to make sure the lens had image stabilization built in, because the body doesn't. And that's helped a lot. I can get down to 1/15th of a second, or maybe 1/10th of a second. 1/15th to 1/20th of a second, pretty reliable with the optical image stabilization. I can get a tack sharp image. I haven't really taken it out at night to see how good I am. But if I can start taking 1/8 of a second images with this optical stabilization on the Fuji, I may take it out one night and try, but that would be nice. Yeah, you don't miss IBIS. Yeah, I think, for daytime shooting, I wouldn't miss it at all, but I have a hard time myself at night because my shutter speeds are at like 1/8 of a second or slower sometimes. If it goes beyond 1 second shutter speed, then you need to be on a tripod. At least I do. But I can take pictures almost down to 1 second handheld if I have some sort of image stabilization, whether it's in the lens or in the body. And that's because, like I said, I would say half of my shooting is at night in the street, especially now in the winter. It gets dark at 4:30. Hello, Paris. Hi, Patrice. Bonjour. Waiting for the EM1 Mark III. Yeah, EM1 Mark III will be interesting. I hope. I hope it is. That's what, the EM1s is when they bring out the new processors and everything usually. Right? They brought it out with I think the EM1 Mark I, then the EM1 Mark II had the TruePic 8, and now the EM1 Mark III, maybe a TruePic 9. Oh, yeah, Andreas. Panasonic, the question is, have I used Panasonic lenses on Olympus cameras, and are there pros and cons? I would say the pros are, Panasonic has some great lenses. I love their 15 millimeter Leica. They have great lenses. The 35 to 100 2.8 is awesome. So I think there's some pros there in terms of lenses selection. You get a better selection, not better, but different selection. They have great lenses that Olympus doesn't have, right? And optically, I don't think there's any advantage though. They're pretty much, they both make great lenses, but the cons are when you use a Panasonic lens on an Olympus body, uh, there's some compatibility issues sometimes, and they don't focus as fast, especially in video. And in photography, I'm sure some of that trickles to the photography side, not the single point autofocus, but if you're doing continuous autofocus or tracking, uh, it doesn't perform as well as a native Olympus on Olympus body, Olympus lens on Olympus body. And all you have to do is go through all of the firmware updates, and you'll see constant updates between Olympus and Panasonic, one way or the other, of compatibility issues between the two bodies and lenses, whether it's Panasonic on Olympus or Olympus on a Panasonic body. So also the Panasonic, when you put a Panasonic lens on a Panasonic body, Panasonic's processor corrects a lot of the lens defects, right? Chromatic aberration, purple fringing, all of that stuff. And that's all corrected in a Panasonic body. That's not corrected when you're using Olympus. So, and people have even said that even it corrects flaring and things like that. That's a little hard to believe, but possible, I guess. So that's the only con, but I would say for just simple photography, general photography, you just buy a lens from either manufacturer that you think will better suit your needs. Now, if you're going to be shooting super telephotos, I know that, for example, some of the features are not going to be available. Well, I guess it wouldn't matter which lens it is, but like photo stacking, dual image stabilization, like if the lens has image stabilization and the body has image stabilization, those two things are not going to work together if you have different brands. You're going to have to pick one. Versus you get an Olympus lens like the 300 f4 with image stabilization and the Olympus body, those two things are going to work together to give you better image stabilization, but not if you put a Panasonic lens on there. And same thing with Panasonic. If you put the Olympus 300 Pro, image stabilization in that lens is not going to work together with the body. And then someone brought up the point about how DFD, the DFD table, the depth from defocus table, works only with Panasonic bodies. So you'll get better autofocus with Panasonic lenses on Panasonic bodies, but you won't get that advantage when you use them on Olympus. So there's a lot of reasons to really buy native glass, original glass for the original body, same brand. Because like I said, a lot of the features, special features that our cameras have won't work with Panasonic lenses. I think like focus stacking was one of them. High-res shot mode is another one. It's not going to work with Panasonic. Things like that. Okay. Bytor, how do you like the EVF OVF on? I find myself using the OVF more and more. Yeah, Bytor, that intrigued me a little bit, the optical viewfinder versus electronic, but I still felt weird trying to use an optical viewfinder with a digital camera. Because, I shoot film, not regularly, but time to time I shoot film, and I'm very comfortable with the optical viewfinder when I'm shooting a real film camera. But it just felt weird to me using it on a digital camera. So I didn't care for it on the X100F. Now on the X Pro 3, they've not only eliminated not eliminated, but they're not only hiding the LCD on the back of this camera, but you can go full optical viewfinder, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But still, it's a digital camera, so I would think I would still have a problem with it, using the optical viewfinder and not being able to see the LCD. Like I said, I'll just go shoot film for that type of experience. I don't feel that synergy if we're doing it in a digital camera. But that's personal preference, right? That has nothing, you might feel totally different. But that's just how I feel. But yeah, that hidden screen was very interesting idea. I think that if you don't want to ever shoot film, that's about the closest experience you'll get without being tempted to just, because you can turn off the viewfinder, right, in live view on just about any camera. But, in practice, do you have that discipline to shoot like that and only shoot 25 images? Let's see. Yeah, it gets dark. It gets dark at 4 p.m. Have I tried one press exposure bracketing using sequential? No, I didn't try that yet. I've been messing with that Fuji, with these Fuji cameras. I haven't really put my mind on doing anything new with the Olympus, but what the heck? I'll have to try that. So we turn on bracketing. We'll do auto exposure bracketing 3 frames. And then put the camera into sequential low. And if I turn bracketing on there. Okay, so you're saying I have bracketing, exposure bracketing on, and I have continuous low. So John, you're saying if I push the shutter button once, it should take 3 pictures? Oh, hold on. It's also art bracketing. Hold on. See, that doesn't work. So John, I have it in continuous low with auto exposure bracketing. And if I push the shutter button once, it takes 2. Hold on, let me turn off the art bracketing. That might be throwing it off. All right. Okay, now I got a white bracketing. All right, so this will be the first shot in a 3-shot bracketing. Make sure I'm in continuous low. It doesn't do it for me. I have to press the shutter button 3 times. Let me see if I hold it down. Okay. If I hold the button down, because John is going back to a previous live stream where he was telling me that you can push the shutter button and it'll take 3 shots. I interpreted that to mean you push the shutter button once. But if I hold the shutter button down, yeah, it'll take the 3 shots for the bracketing. The only problem I have with that is you have to hold the button down, and you introduce potentially camera shake, right, by holding the button down. So the way I do it is I use the custom shutter with a timer delay. So I can tell the camera to take 3 pictures, but wait 5 seconds before you take the first picture. So I can push the shutter button if it's on a tripod, push the shutter button and walk away from the camera so it's completely stable. And then I'll take the 3 images. But if you want, you can do it this way too. So thanks for sharing that with me, John. Okay. Have you tried to get one? Oh, sorry. Just back from Salon de la Photo in Paris. Olympus was demonstrating IBIS. Yeah, the stabilization is amazing on the Olympus cameras. That EM1X, I was trying it, when they had the EM1X launch, and it was amazing. So Bob here said he bought the Pen F. There's a sliver of an image split on the right side. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe you can email a print screen of that, like a screenshot of your workspace. I'm not sure exactly. There's a sliver of an image split on the right side. Not sure what you mean. Yeah, Pen F2. They might later. They might. I hope they do. Okay, Fukan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry it's so late. Uh, my thoughts on Olympus 4/3 lens on micro 4/3. You have to use those lenses with an EM1 body because the EM1s have the phase detect, and uh, then they have an adapter specifically for it, right? But people have been having great success with that and no problems at all. So if you can find those lenses cheap and have an EM1 Mark 1 or a Mark 2, you should be fine. I haven't heard good things when it's been attached to EM10 Mark 2s and things like that because of its contrast only, but I hear it's great on the EM1s. But I don't have personal experience. A good place to go is the MU43 forums. A lot of people there do that, and they have a lot more experience than I do. Oh, you're getting yours in a few days. It's going to take me 2 weeks to get mine. The M5 Mark III. I'm still waiting. On the 21st of October. Um, Depot has some feedback about using the 45 to 200 Panasonic. Yeah, like I said, I don't like Panasonics on the Olympus bodies. Larry, so the 12 to 60 EM on your EM10, uh, the EM10 is not great at low light anyway. I don't know. Does that happen on your Olympus lenses too? Because I think the 12 to 60 is at f2.8, so it should be letting enough light in. But yeah, a lot of times Panasonics just don't work as well on Olympus for no obvious reason. It might be underneath in the coating, the chips. X-Pro 3 looks incredible. It's interesting how quickly YouTube reviewers say they get used to it not chimping. Yeah, the chimping part, if you're already pretty comfortable with shooting your photography in general, because when I go out and shoot film, I don't miss chimping at all. It doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is I have to wait a week to get my prints, but uh, when I go out and actually to take pictures, I don't really need to look at the image immediately after I see it if I'm using film. If I'm using digital, I can't help myself. I look at it. But if I was to get an X Pro 3, yeah, I wouldn't miss it if I didn't look at the LCD on that kind of camera. But with digital camera, I'm just so used to looking. I don't know. And I'm always experimenting, so I like to see exactly what happened right away. Yeah, people from all over. Yeah, that's true. Patrice, my wife, now here in the States, is from outside Paris. Would love to hear more about photography resources. Would love to hear more about photography resources over there. Okay, I can't help you with that. I don't know anything about Paris. Thinking about buying a 12 millimeter f2 for 340. Yeah, that's a smoking deal. I think I paid 600 for mine, the 12 millimeter f2, and it's a fantastic lens. I would get that by all means. I mean, you got to have a specific reason for getting a lens like that if you're going to spend 340 bucks. But it's a terrific lens for vlogging and wide shots, street photography. It's a little bit too wide for street, but not bad. Yeah, it's a great lens. Okay, thanks, Rob. Yeah, send me an email. It's if anybody wants to email me, let me type it in here. Thank you, thank you. Sorry about the sound. Yeah, I was talking about. Let's see, when did I? I'm not sure what you guys missed in my jibber jabber there. But the 56 is awesome. I want to try, but at 500 bucks, I'm not so sure. Because it's big and bulky, and I just don't need that focal length. If it was a focal length I used a lot, I would definitely get it. But I rarely shoot with my 45. I like shooting with my 17 a lot. Uh, yeah, I know. I don't know why. I'm on Bluetooth. I don't know why when I type on this keyboard, the sound goes out. I thought originally it was some sort of USB interference, so I switched. I got this new keyboard that's Bluetooth. I think I'm on Bluetooth mode. And anyway, uh, kind of clicking noise. Yes, Chris, I do get clicking noise on my 17 millimeter. I don't recall it doing it when I first got it, so I don't know if that's an issue that's developed more recently. But it's the autofocusing motor inside clickety clacking. So that's something I do plan to look into later when I get some time. But yeah, my 17 millimeter is doing that too. But uh, I always record audio separately so that I didn't notice it before. Uh, the clickety clacking in the 17, because it's not supposed to do that in my opinion, because it's movie still compatible MSC, which means it's supposed to be silent so that you don't get any sound from the lens while you're recording. So I think there might be some defect in that lens. The Laowa 7.5 looks like a great lens. I don't own it, but by all accounts it's fantastic. It's just manual focus, but it's a cheap way to get into. Well, it's not cheap. It's still 500 bucks. If you're doing astrophotography, I think it's a great lens. Um, but it's so wide. I'd rather have an autofocus lens for just about everything else, personally. It's just too wide for anything but astro in my opinion. Hi Rob, have I tried your Valvia batch in Workspace? Yes. Yes. Oh, so you tried the Valvia batch process? Yeah. Go to the saturation, the color wheel saturation, and there's a green one. It's number 10 or 11 at the bottom. That's what's really messing it up. I have that cranked all the way to +7. I think if you dial that back down to 0 or -7, it'll work a lot better on some images. But I can get Velvia look pretty much in camera now on the EM10. So once I get a couple of things down, I'm going to start doing videos on that. Sort of like the Kodachrome 25 video that I did for the Pen F. I can get Velvia done on EM10, but the other looks I'm going to have to do on the Pen F. And then if you don't want to do it in camera, definitely batch processing. Uh, yeah, need to see a dentist. Oh, so I went quiet on exposure comp question. Let me see. Let me go up to that. What is that? I don't remember a question about exposure comps. So if somebody could ask me that again, I don't remember that. Focus about a meter or two away, all the way to the horizon. Yes, I think technically, yeah, everything's supposed to be in focus at whatever the hyperfocal distance is with these wide angle lenses, even at f2. But for me, like I bought the 8mm fisheye. I can still see, because I have to use this professionally, I can still see things a little bit out of focus when I'm stacking images and things. So for me, I have to be able to use autofocus even with a super wide angle lens. And if I can see it on an 8mm fisheye, I'll definitely be able to see it on a Laowa 7.5. So I could never use that lens professionally. Now for just photo walks and things, yeah, it's probably fine. Put it at maybe even put it at f4 and just hyperfocal distances to 3 or 4 feet, and everything will be tack sharp. But it's not something I could use, so I'd rather get a autofocus lens like the. There really aren't any cheap alternatives. $500 about as cheap as you can get at that focal length. Okay. Yeah, the Laowas, yeah, $500 for that lens. I mean, I was tempted by it, but then because of the lack of autofocus, I couldn't justify the cost professionally. I think it's like I said, if you're heavy into astrophotography, that would be a terrific lens because you have to manual focus anyway. Okay. Yeah, Mike, I'm sorry. I still don't know what I was talking about with the Pen F and exposure comp. All right. There's a little bit of a lull here. Any other questions? Oh, Fotis wants to sell his EM10 Mark III in a pancake. That is a smoking deal, but no. Like I said, I just don't need it. I am interested in getting another pancake lens though. That is definitely in my near future. When they have it on the Olympus refurb site, I'm gonna get it because it's only like 125 bucks. Yeah, I think there's cheaper alternatives out there. Maybe they're not f2. Okay, so yeah, if you want a super wide angle lens, there's a lot of alternatives out there, but they're like an f4 or an f3.5. Then you're down under 200 bucks. But that Laowa being an f2 or whatever it is, that's why it's so expensive. The Sigma Art lenses. Okay, I do have a lot of experience actually with the Sigma Art lenses on my Nikon camera. Um, I had the 18-35 f1.8, I had the 50mm f1.4, and I had the 24-105 f4, and I've had various other Sigmas that were total crap, but the art lenses were definitely a step above in terms of build quality and optics. They were tack sharp. I also had the 17 to 50 f2.8 Sigma. All of those lenses were wonderful lenses, but I traded them all in. I couldn't handle the size and weight anymore. They were just so heavy on an already kind of bulky system, right? Full frame. And Sigma, now if you're talking about the Sigma lenses for the Micro Four Thirds system, all of those lenses were actually made for APS-C sensors, and so they're going to be bigger than they need to be on our Micro Four Thirds camera. So I don't like I know the 16 millimeter f 1.4, is it? I don't know. They have a 16 millimeter lens that's like, you know, the size of this with the lens cap and everything on it. It's just, they're just too big. So I'll never buy Sigma lenses until they get them smaller, or they make them specifically for Micro Four Thirds so that they're smaller. But I think optically they've been fine. Like I said, I used them on my Nikon for about 2 years, and then I got rid of them all because I got tired of hauling them around. My God, it's like 700 or 800 grams on one of those lenses. It was heavy. Michael may have been referring to the exposure bracketing with one press. Oh, do you want me to demo that on the Pen F? I can do that. It shouldn't be any different. Where is my Pen F? It's my beautiful Pen F here. I got batteries. Yeah. All right, so let me put an aperture priority. Put it into a bracketing mode. Exposure bracketing. Continuous low. So if so I'm in exposure bracketing, 3 shots, continuous low. If I hold the shutter button down, yeah, it takes 3 shots in a row. Let me try exposure bracketing 5 shots. I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't do 5. How about 7 shots? So if I hold this down, yeah, it takes 7 shots. So yeah, exposure bracketing works great on the Pen F2. Just saw this headline, rumors, Olympus to shut down camera division in less than 8 months. Tell us. I seriously doubt it, but yeah, that would kind of suck, man, if they shut down. If they shut down the camera division. I can't imagine they would. I mean, they just released 2 cameras, you know, but who knows, you know? Like, you know, you know, in my opinion, I think Olympus would be crazy to announce that they're shutting a camera division down. Obviously, they would never do that. They would just stop making cameras. So if the EM5 Mark III, if we don't see a release of any other cameras in 2020, that would be probably a good indication there's a problem. But honestly, you know, if Olympus stops making cameras, I mean, I'm still good for many years to come with the cameras that I have. But if I have to switch system, it's okay. We'll just buy something else. I'll buy Fuji or something. Or Panasonic, you know. I'm not stuck on any particular brand. Fuji is about the only other camera that I like, even remotely, aesthetically speaking. I'm very vain in that sense that I have to like how the camera looks for me to buy it. You know, for my personal stuff, for work, you know, I don't care. It's just a tool, right? But for my personal stuff, I have to like how it looks and feels and works in my hands. Oh, the 62.8. Yeah, that is an awesome little lens, right? It's only about this big, and it's yeah, I hear a lot of good things about that lens. Uh, it, it, like I said, it's just not a focal length I use much. I have the 75-1.8, and I have the 45. I use a little more than the 75, but I almost never use the 75. So 60 is kind of in between that, and that would probably get almost no use at all either. But I don't know. I think it's only 200 bucks. It I don't know. I don't know. 60 is a good focal length, right? At 2.8. Uh you could do some portraits with that. Nice portraits with that, I think. So yeah, that's a good point, but I haven't used it. I'll have to look for one. I've been meaning to get one of those, but I just never did. I ended up getting the 75-1.8, which was a mistake on my part. I shouldn't have bought that lens. It's a great lens, but it's just not a lens I use much. Okay. Am I missing anything here? Oh, yeah, the scandal on Olympus, 1.5 billion. That was crazy, right? Yeah, I watched that. It's like a 45 or 1 hour video on the Olympus scandal. Uh, that was crazy. Thankfully they did pull through that, but corporations, they live by the quarter, and they are they have to turn a profit for their shareholders. They have to answer to that. And but I don't know enough about it to say one way or the other, but I do, I have family that work in large corporations, and they will hire, I'm sorry, they will fire people before the end of the quarter so that their numbers look good on paper. And then one day after the quarters ends and the new one starts, they rehire them, because they're penny pinching everywhere they can. So it wouldn't surprise me if they decided, Olympus camera division, yeah, it's been a nice run, but that's it. But if Olympus shuts down their camera division, I've said this before, is the other companies are not far behind. Oh, I didn't like the X100F. It just, without the image stabilization, without the, and then the cost of that camera. Oh my God, brand new, that camera's still 11, $1,200. I mean, I just don't understand the appeal of that camera at that price, especially. I'm liking the X-T30 though. This is okay. I mean, this functionally is much better for me because it has the tilt screen and it has optical image stabilized lenses that I can get for it. So that solves two really big problems for me in terms of taking pictures. Uh, in the video, what I like about the video part, the focusing seems great, and it has a little tally light here, so I know when it's recording. I don't have to constantly check like I do on my EM10. And the fact that it has a mic jack helps a lot too. The only problem I really have with it is the image stabilization is not good in video at all. So I really can't use it for vlogging seriously. Like, it's never going to, so I can't wait for my EM5 Mark III to come. That is going to be the ultimate photography and vlogging camera all in one. Well, yeah, Arthur's asking if the 17-1.8 would be a good fit for the type of, and Arthur does a lot of black and white street photography, and The short answer is no question that's an awesome lens that you should have and be using. Um, Based on the images I see, you're always shooting pretty wide, right? Right in the 25 millimeter range. And I think are you just using the kit lens now? I mean, I think if you're shooting at f4 all the time, because you're shooting with a very wide depth of field, you're not shooting wide open. You're shooting pretty much at f5, 6. It looks like on most of your images. So I don't see how a 17 1.8 would benefit you at all. You don't do a lot of night photography. And your images are not going to be much sharper. They are sharper with the 17, but they're not so much better than the kit lens that I would spend, 250, 300, whatever that lens costs. So I would say if you want to do more night photography, night street shooting, yeah, definitely get that lens. But from what I've seen in your portfolio, most of your stuff is in broad daylight. Some closer to the evening. You have some really long shadows sometimes, but again, if you're using, I think you're using the kit lens now. It's fine. I don't know. Does that make sense? I mean, when I took out my EM10 Mark II and compared it to the uh, Fujifilm, you know, this I just put the kit lens on the EM10, and so yeah, I figured you were using the kit lens because a lot of your images, I think, yeah, a lot of them are 14 millimeters all the way up to about 25. You're kind of all over the place, but um, I think you're fine unless you want to go into night photography, like after it gets dark. But that kit lens is really sharp, even compared against the kit lens from Fuji, which this by itself is like a $600 or $800 lens, right? Uh, yeah, it's about a $600 lens. Oh, okay. Yeah, Arthur, if you wanna start shooting at night, get the 17-1.8. Definitely get it. Because that's two stops, right? You go from 1.8 to 2.8. That's 1 1/3. And sorry, my computer froze up just now. Yeah, the clicking noise, I don't notice it when I'm taking pictures, only when I'm doing video. Okay, wants to get serious about vlogging, and he's asking the difference between the M5 Mark II and the M5 Mark III. It's mainly the autofocus. The autofocus on the M5 Mark III for vlogging is amazing. I mean, if it's anything like the M1 Mark II, and it's probably better, but that's the main difference for vlogging. And it's also a little bit lighter weight, and it's definitely going to be more durable. Like I said, people are giving the M5 Mark III flack for being plastic, but when you look at this TG5, this is all plastic, and this thing is tough as nails, man. So if the EM5 Mark III's plastic body's anything like this, I'm not going to be worried at all, because I know all my metal bodies, they have dents and scratches and everything in them. But this thing is still like new. And I've dropped this thing, man, so many times. Yesterday I dropped my EM5 Mark or my EM10 Mark II 3 times just going out the front door. So I don't know why I'm so clumsy. But that's going to be the main difference. That, and you can do 4K video with the EM5 Mark III if you want to get into that. But it's not necessary. Um, yeah, when I was shooting at night, my night photography, I'm at ISO 12,000, 25,000, and my shutter speeds are like 1/10, 1/15, 1/20th of a second, even at f1.8 or f2. So yeah, if you're going to be doing night photography, you have to get those 2 stops of light extra. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get any shots at all. The 40 to 150, but just cannot nail it. So Leon bought the 40 to 150 and is having trouble with the birds' photos. Yeah, it's a little bit too short. You have to be pretty close or take pictures of large birds, right? Like blue herons and white cranes and, the big birds. The best place to take bird photos is like, I went to Florida, and there's a seafood restaurant at a certain time around 5 o'clock every day. They throw away a lot of seafood. So they go out to the back. It's on the water. It's a waterfront restaurant. They go onto the pier on their back of their dock and throw all the seafood away, man. And those birds and fish, they know what time they give the seafood away. And these birds all come in, man, huge birds. And the biggest carp I ever seen in my life, those things must have been 6 feet long, just swimming right up to the pier. Whew, But anyway, yeah, if you live in Florida on a pier, go to a restaurant, a seafood restaurant, and they throw food away sometimes that way. That's a great place to get birding. What clicking on the 17-1.8? Oh, I can show you. I have it right here. Let's see. Let me put it on a camera that has a battery. I'll put it on my my EM10. All right. See, when it's trying to focus, I don't know if you can hear that clicking. It's very subtle. I don't know. Hopefully you guys could hear that. Let me try one more time. Well, now it's, let me cover the lens. Well, now it's not doing it. It's very subtle, the clicking. It's not bad. I don't know if all 17s do that or if it's just ones that went bad. Okay, question is the EM10 Mark III good in 2019 or do you prefer the Fuji? Well, okay, the question is the EM10 Mark III good in 2019 or do I prefer the Fuji X-T20 or X-T30? I would definitely not get an X-T20 over EM10 Mark III. If you have the money, because the EM10 Mark III with the kit lens is like $600, right? And this Fuji X-T30 with the kit lens is double the cost and almost double the weight with the lens. I don't think it's worth double the price. The EM10 Mark III is really a much better value. And if you're thinking long term, like what camera do you want to have 5 years from now, I would get the EM5 Mark III for the price of this Fuji X-T30 or X-T3 by far. It's a much better value. Like I said, I would get the EM5 Mark II with the 14 to 150 kit lens that is $999 right now, which is still $200 or $300 less than X-T30. I think it's a better value. Image quality wise, I don't think you're going to see any difference. I'm not really seeing a big difference with the Fuji. other than the colors, which I'm really enjoying the colors, but they're a little bit. I'm not. It's not like for a reason for me to switch over to it, because you can get those in post processing if you want. That is not the image stabilization, Andreas. Well, you know, I don't want to say it's not the image stabilization, because I don't know. Maybe the image stabilization clacks with this lens on it, but when I put my 14-42 kit lens, it's dead silent. Here. Oh, that's gross. Hold on. It's dead silent. I don't hear anything, so I think the... I mean, there's a little bit of a hiss sound from the image stabilization, the motors, but the lens itself is clickety-clacking. Oh, you're thinking about a TG6 for $399. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy this camera. It's very, very tough. If you want a tough compact camera, yeah, this is awesome. Man, I gotta... Because what I like about it is you can actually get like this ring adapter here, and you can put filters on it, and all kinds of neat things you can do with this camera. It's a lot like a Pocket EM10 Mark II, because you can still do live composite. I mean, it has some limitations, like the maximum shutter speed is 4 seconds in night mode, which is a little limiting for me, because you know, like I like to do night photography. But other than that, for walking around, it's great. Now, what's terrible on that camera is the autofocus for video. Oh my God, it cannot stay focused on my face at all. So if you watch some of my vlogs, sometimes you'll see the focus in and out. Yeah, that's the only bad thing for vlogging. But for photography, it's great. And the TG6 has features in it. If you can get a TG5 for less, I would get a TG5. The only thing the TG6 adds are a couple of things that if you do a lot of scuba diving and underwater photography, it has features, I don't remember exactly what they were, but that were very specific to people that do diving and do photography, that it's much better at than the TG5. But in terms of just having a compact camera to walk around and have fun with, the TG5, if you can get a better deal on it, I would get that. Said he had trouble auto exposure on vlogging. Yeah, Mike, I did a follow-up video shortly after testing for that, and I do see what he's talking about, but I tried it on the Fuji yesterday, because he was talking about how great Fuji face auto exposure is. But every time I see his Fujifilm videos, he's always on a cloudy day. So he's not subject to the same problems, right? Let me see if I have a video. I have a video. I'm gonna try not to lose sound, okay? I'll pay attention this time. Give me 1 second. Where are my... All right, so let's see. Does this show? Hold on. There it is. So here's the Fujifilm, right? In the same kind of lighting conditions. Let me see if I can make this full screen. What happened? Oh. Sorry, I lost it. Yeah, the brand new 17, when I first got it, I don't remember that clicking sound, but now it's doing it. The X Pro 3 and a small f2. Yeah, this is the other problem I'm having with Fujifilm is the lens selection. Yeah, they have great lenses, I hear, but there's not a lot of compact, if any, compact, small, lightweight lenses that are optically stabilized. So that's the other big problem I'm having is this is the kind of camera I would take out at night for shooting, and I can't survive without image stabilization of any kind. Oh, John, you're in Florida? Yeah, so you probably got a lot of opportunities for some great bird photography because there's a lot of big birds out there. A tarpon. Yeah, maybe. I don't know my fish that well. They look like carp to me, but I know nothing about fish. So a lot of people aren't having the clicking sound, but I am. But my problem is I drop my cameras all the time. So maybe they're a little bit sensitive, if you drop them, that it damages them slightly, so it starts clicking. Not to the point they stop working, but that they start clicking. I don't know. But I wish I could have showed you guys that Fuji video. I don't know why it stopped working. Maybe if I do monitor instead. Let me close this. And play it. So if I move this up, there it is. So this is me walking. How can I get out of the frame here? Here I am walking around, right, in the backyard. Right there, look. Because I forget who asked about this, how Fujifilm is supposed to be able to auto expose for the face better than Olympus. And I'm putting the Fujifilm camera in the same conditions I put my Olympus camera, and you can see it's still having the same problem. I haven't analyzed this completely yet, so I'm not ready to really share my final verdict on this. But you can see I'm very overexposed here, and then it starts to adjust, but my face is still blown out. And now, at this point, I would say it's acceptable, right? And what I'm talking about is that video that Camera Conspiracies did saying that Fujifilm has much better auto exposure for face detect when compared to the Olympus EM5 Mark III. And I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. Like I said, I've only done one test. So I can't say that this is better. It seems to do okay. I have another video. I did the EM10, but the EM10 is not a really fair comparison. But here's the EM10 Mark II. And, you know, the autofocus just caught up. So the autofocus is slower, no question. But as I'm walking, you know, the exposure seems pretty much the same as the Fuji was doing. You know, there's a lot of glare from the sun here, so the contrast is bad. Now, see, when I turn here, my face is overexposed. But this is the difference, actually, I'm seeing, is it doesn't adjust back to, well, here it does. See, now it looks good to me. See what I mean? I don't I don't think the Fujifilm was doing particularly better with the auto exposure on your face than our Olympus cameras, and that was the M10 Mark II, which has, you know, really, it's a TruePic 7 processor. It's not the TruePic 8. So I'm still gonna, you know, when I get my EM5 Mark III in, I'm gonna really do some exhaustive testing for different lighting conditions and things. So what I'll do probably is do a live stream, or what I'll do is I'll put a community post that you guys can ask me every question you can possibly ask into the community post, and then I'll start doing videos answering those questions. No, the TG5 is 450, John. That's that's surprising. Time to time, if you look at the Olympus refurb site, they'll have them on sale there for like 350 or 325. I've seen it. Rob, I'm seeing Olympus at least tried to change settings. The Fuji didn't appear to do anything in comparison. Oh, yeah, yeah, the Fuji, I think it's hard to tell when you're watching through a live stream and then I'm just playing a video through that clip. I did see it changing a little. And Olympus was changing also at a slower pace, but that's the EM10, right? He was complaining about the EM5 Mark III, and Camera Conspiracy is built on. Yeah, I know. His channel's more about entertainment, because, you know, whenever you watch his videos, they're just entertaining. They're not particularly telling you anything you don't already know. And then he's giving his opinion, right? Like I just watched one this morning about all the recommendations he got about cameras. You know, I think in that sense, it's always nice to hear someone else's opinion, and it doesn't hurt because everybody's different when they go out, right, and shoot. Like, you know, this Fujifilm X-T30, awesome as this camera is, I took it out the first couple of photo walks and I'm still having problem autofocusing with this. And everybody says this camera can autofocus like no other camera on the planet. And then when I take it out, I'm having trouble. And again, it's not the camera's fault, right? It's user error. I'm pretty sure. So anyhow, so I just watch his stuff just to see what he has to say because he makes it funny. I don't see that as a problem. There's no instant compensation to extreme changes of light, and even if there was, I think the result would be unnatural. True. It can be if it's too fast. And there was a firmware update a couple of years back to address because originally it was trying to change, but I think the exposure change was doing it in steps, so it was very obvious. It wasn't a gradual change, so they fixed that. So now I think it's pretty decent. One final question. Can I use the EM10 Mark II video while I go out and shoot? I saw some use a Fuji do it, taking images while vlogging at the same time. Yeah, you can do video. The EM10 Mark II, you can record video and take raw pictures, and then it'll start recording. You just have to be in the right, you know, oh, you know, oh, sorry. Let me answer Arthur's question. I'll talk to Ron for a second about why I don't get a wrist strap. Let's see. There's two photo modes you need to look at when you're in movie mode. So scroll down to. I can't do this backwards. But okay, you go into the movie setting, right? Right there. And then oh, I have to put this in movie mode. Hold on. And then right here in the movie menu, there is something called movie plus photo mode, and there's mode 1 and mode 2. So mode 1 will take a JPEG image, you know, take a screenshot from the movie and save it as a JPEG. And mode 2 will actually stop the movie, take a raw image, then automatically start recording again. So check those two modes out and see which one's better for your workflow. But I vlog and take pictures with it all the time. Like if you saw my vlog of the M10 Mark II and night photography that I did a couple weeks ago, that I just used this one. I had this one camera on me the whole time. I recorded audio separate, but I just had this, and I vlogged and took pictures at the same time with this camera. It's no problem at all. Oh, Ron's saying if I tend... I don't drop the cameras actually when I'm out in the field so much, taking pictures. I have a pretty good grip on it. You know, I mean, by grip, I mean I have a good hold of it. I'm usually dropping the cameras when I'm in here in my studio, you know, changing settings or getting it ready to go out. Because I have this strap on here. And a lot of times this strap will catch something when I'm picking the camera up, and then it'll yank it out of my hand and drop on the floor, or yeah, I'm usually dropping the camera in my own house before I even get out into the field. And once I'm out in the field, I'm pretty good. I don't normally drop it too much, except on rare occasions it'll drop. Yeah, the handheld shots, I'm definitely getting blurry images, and that's gonna, you know, your mileage is gonna vary. The question is, am I noticing blurry images for lack of IBIS on the Fuji? On the Fuji X-T30, with this lens has optical image stabilization. My shots are much, much better. But when I didn't have any, like on the X100F, yeah, I was definitely getting blurry shots. I can show you an example. I think. PB, DS. Oh, here it is. No. Yeah, I can show you this one. So, oh, you can't see that yet. Hold on. Monitor 2. Oops. I'm all backwards. Can you see these lines here? These should be solid white lines, right? But I was hand holding and I was getting blurry, just, you're getting that image blur, right? And what was my shutter speed here? I was at 1/12 of a second. And then if you look at, let's see, this image. No, that's another. Oh, let's see. Here's, and then here's my pen PL8 at 1/8 of a second. And you can see how sharp that is now, right? Because of the image stabilization. So at 1/12 of a second, at 1/12 of a second, I can't hold the camera steady enough to get. Now, when you back off and you look at the image, it looks fine. But when you really punch in a little bit close or crop a little bit, the image is going to look a little bit soft to your eye, and you're like, why? But then when you punch in, that's why. It's because it's not sharp, like this is, right? This is tack sharp at 1/8 of a second. And that's why I have to have image stabilization, whether it's in the lens or in the body. All my Fujis were a nightmare to get focusing. Where's my, there. Fuji's work pretty good now, but still not Nikon fast. Oh, interesting. I don't know. The X-T30, yeah, it seemed, like I said, I need to get out with it more. I'm not getting the focusing that I'm used to with the Olympus. But once I get a little more practice with it, I can then make a conclusion that it's the camera and it's not me. But right now, I think it's me and not the camera that's having trouble with the focusing on the Fujis. And this is an X-T30, which is supposed to be, every bit as good as the X-T3, right? It's a little early for me to say about the okay, what's the, Janet's asked me what do I think about the 18 to 55 versus the 12 from Olympus, the Fuji 18 to 55. I haven't compared them side by side, but I have taken images with my kit lens and the 18 to 55 kit lens from Fuji. And I can tell you, I don't really see much difference at all. I think the 18 to 55 seems fine, but I'm having trouble focusing, so it's hard for me to say it's any better. Let me see if I have any images from. Here's the M10. And then here's the Fuji. Did I get this in focus? See, here's a Fuji film, right? That I misfocused. She's all blurry. What got in focus? Something down here. You can see these leaves are pretty tack sharp, right? And then if I go up to my EM10, I got her tack sharp. And this is the 14 to 42 kit lens. Here's another EM10 Mark II. So I'll make this number 1. Whoops. Now I'm in the picture. Well, anyway, this is the problem I'm having with my Fujifilm is I am having trouble with the focus. You can see this image here. This one right here is from the EM10 Mark II with the 14-42 kit lens. And then this one over here is the Fujifilm with the 18-55. And I could have sworn I had the focus point right on her eye. But I misfocused with the Fuji, and I did not misfocus with the EM10. So that's why I'm having trouble. So Jan, long story short, I need to practice more with this camera so that I'm nailing focus. Or I need to develop some muscle memory or something so I can nail focus with this camera just like I do with my Olympuses. But that's the thing. I can understand when people buy a camera and they, and they have problems like I'm having, and I'm not like a beginning photographer, right? I have some experience, and I'm still struggling with this Fujifilm to get focus. So, but I just wanted to show you firsthand that I'm not qualified to say that this lens is better or worse than anything from Olympus right now. All I can tell you is I can't see any difference in my images yet. Okay. Ever tried dual IS on Lumix body and lens? No, I have not, Valdez. I've never used Panasonic cameras. Because Olympus has dual IS also. But GX9 is a fabulous camera if you like that kind of feel. I mean, if you already have a collection of Olympus lenses, I would get the M1 Mark II over GX9. But if you're just starting out, GX9 is a pretty compelling camera if you like the top plate LCD and the grip. The Fuji 16-80 f4 with OIS. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how much that lens is though, and how big and heavy it is. That would be my question. The A6400 is fast. Okay, good to know. I just don't like those cameras. I just don't like the ergonomics of it. Yeah, the OIS so far, the few shots that I tried to rely on the OIS, meaning I know the shutter speed was slow, I was getting good results with it. Because I went out to Fort Washington. I was trying to do a vlog, and let's see. Yeah, I was trying to do a vlog, and I was doing some in some dark areas. Like here's the one I posted on Instagram, right? Or one of these versions of it. Where are the Fujifilm images are down here. Okay. Let's see. This one. Oh, well, I can't count this one. This was on a tripod, but 1/15 of a second. Let's see if there's a handheld one here. Yeah, this one was handheld. 1/50th of a second. 1/50th. 1/17th. That was not handheld. All right, here's one. Nope. Sorry, I'm not. This is the kind of stuff you do videos on. That I should make a video on and not try and live stream. So you're having trouble focusing with Fuji's too. Yeah, if you've been Giorgio, if you're having trouble, have you been using Olympus a long time and now you're trying a Fuji and that's why you're having trouble? Because I think that's why I'm having trouble. The EM10 looks great. Yeah, it's great. I don't know what you mean. Oh, you mean probably the images I had of my girl dog? Yeah, the M10 is fabulous camera. I tell people, man, for 500 bucks, I can't find a better camera. Yeah, no, I turned, you're saying maybe I touched the screen. No, I turned the touch screen off a couple days ago because that was a problem. I kept touching the screen and it was messing with my focusing. So I said, no, I'm going to turn the touch screen off. So the only way I can focus is with the shutter button or back button focusing. So I have to get that workflow down to where, yeah, I'm just having trouble focusing. But yeah, it's not because I'm touching the screen. I turned that off to eliminate that altogether because that was definitely a problem. Yeah, low light focusing on the Fujifilm, I'm not feeling it yet. I'll have to actually test it side by side with my other cameras. But the little bit that I did, I was a little surprised it hunted a bit. Yeah, the M10 Mark II, man. Yeah, Valdez is also chiming in. He's never had a blurry image. And it's true. If you're that 5-axis stabilization is pretty amazing on the M10 Mark II. It's not as good in video as it is in photography, but yeah, it's a good camera. Oh my God, it's 11:30. Let me see. I need to go out because there's only 5 hours of light or less left. But I wanted to take the Fuji out today and get some more shooting done with it. I finally got I got some batteries for it. Oh my God, battery life is the other problem with this Fujifilm. This is a brand new factory battery in this camera, and I only got 2 hours out of it, shooting and a little bit of vlogging and shooting that day. And the battery was gone. So I developed this rig. Oh my God, really? But I bought this awesome charger with a couple of generic batteries. Well, the batteries didn't come with this charger, but this charger rocks. So I got 2 generic batteries now, plus the factory original battery, and I got this GoPro grip that this Fuji, I'll give them the fact that it has USB 3 charging. I don't like to charge the battery while I'm while it's in the camera. But this grip actually has a battery in it, and I can plug this USB-C right into the camera like so. So now, let me get rid of this other screen so you can see this. Yeah. But see how that works? So hopefully this will eliminate some of my battery issues that I'm having with this Fuji. Because I tried to vlog like this yesterday, and well, no, not yesterday, but I was planning to go out yesterday, but I didn't make it. But I'm gonna go out today like this with my Fujifilm, and hopefully this rig will help. And this makes it a lot easier to hold. So hopefully, because the video is so shaky vlogging with this, because the optical stabilization in the lens is nowhere near as good as the optical or image stabilization in the EM10 Mark II. So I'm going to go out today and shoot these 2 cameras side by side. My EM10 Mark II and my Fujifilm X-T30. So anyhow, does anyone have any other questions? Otherwise, I think I'll call it, because actually there's still a lot of people here online. Surprised. Anything you want me to test on this X-T30 while I have it out? Because if, I do enjoy this camera for what it is. you know, once I get around the quirks of the learning how to focus with it and vlog and really start to handle this camera, I think I'll learn to really enjoy using this. But for now, I'm just you know, what I'm getting to is I'll probably start doing tutorials and things on this as well, through the menu systems and everything, just like I did for the EM10. And when I get my EM5 Mark III in, hopefully I'll be doing some more tutorials and updating a lot of my content. So, all right. If there's no other questions, I think we'll call it a chat. That's a 2 hour 2 hour live stream again. I'm so sorry. But hopefully I was able to get to everyone questions, and I will try and live stream again on Thursday at 3:45, but I'll announce it in the community tab. Yeah, the M53, if it had USB-C, it might allow in-camera charging, just like while the camera, because if I turn this camera on, let me turn it on, and let me turn the power on this. So now I have the power on the grip here, and it's feeding the camera juice. I don't know if it's feeding the camera while the camera's on, or if I have to turn the camera off. And then you can see the LED comes on over here. Now I know the battery's charging, right? But if I turn the camera on, that LED goes off. Is the battery still charging? That's something I haven't used this camera enough to know if that's the case or not. I guess it should be in the manual, but all right, everyone, thanks for coming in, and I'll try and get some videos out this week, but I've just been out shooting and experimenting with these cameras so much. I may not get another video posted for a few days, so thanks again. We'll see you again soon.